or not?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately.
All right.
Goody.
All right.
Feedback from something.
That means okay.
Okay. Okay, well then, hey, look at us actually starting on time for once. This is amazing. Incredible. Welcome everyone to the May 2024 Klamath Film member meeting. We're so glad you could join us, and I'm so glad Bowen figured out the blatantly obvious solution to our problem of just putting the TV on the other end of the tables so that we don't have this massive glare from the back windows.
I
That's
will
wonderful.
say it was not a singular effort. I was talking with Anthony about it, and I think he was kind of the origin of the idea, so I will credit him.
Okay.
Lighting director.
Well, it's been a busy time for me. I don't know how things have been in Klamath since I moved away about 2 months ago, but still here, still involved as the a board of directors for our nonprofit organization, and there is a lot happening. So we got a couple of things to cover tonight, and our guest tonight is Rufino Romero. He is a Native American actor from Los Angeles who has appeared in numerous TV shows and films, and he actually shot something here in our general area a couple of years ago. He was part of a cast of actors and senior students at Cal State Northridge that came to Tule Lake and shot a fantastic short film at the Lava Beds Park that was all about the Modoc Wars, called This Is Their Land. That's where we met Rufino. He was one of the actors in it. And the Klamath Independent Film Festival ended up being it just got super dark there. It ended up being the world premiere for that film in 2022. And Rufino and other actors and people involved in it were kind enough to come back to Klamath for the world premiere and participate in a wonderful panel discussion about indigenous culture and being good neighbors and stewards, and history involving Modoc Wars and institutional trauma. Just a really fascinating conversation that we had. And so I was very grateful for him to take the time to be a part of that. So I asked him, and he said, yeah, I'd love to come in and check in with all the Klamath folks again. You might have seen him on things like NCIS. He's been on soap operas. He's been in various short films. So very good guy that's taking some time out to speak to us tonight.
And he lives in Northridge, so he's not all bad. I used to live there.
Yeah. Well, I think he went to school there. I think he's just based in general LA now. So you might want to retract that statement.
Well, no, I went to school there too, so I'll stick with it.
Okay. And let's see here. Bowen, how many people do we have there? Is that
Right
Larry
now
that
we
I see?
have, not
John?
counting me, we have 4.
Okay. Is that Anthony's arm sticking out?
No, that is.
Oh, hey, Jared. Hello.
So we have Jared, Larry, and
Karen.
Karen. Yes, I remember. Actually, I remember last time. I saw you from last time.
I
Yeah.
had a conference last month,
Mhm.
so yeah.
Welcome back, Karen. We appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of this. And we got a few people online as well. Lori and Wayne, of course, and then Mike and Alberto. I don't think we're familiar with Mike and Alberto. Oh, Schwab. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Some people who are regulars at our film festival may recognize this guy. This is a Eugene filmmaker who came down and, even without having a film in our festival, spent all 3 days at our fest in 2022, 21, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I was happy to go down there and check it out. It was cool.
And I just saw this guy last night at a film screening here in Eugene for a film called Above the Trees, which was done by our good friends of Klamath Film, Gary and Ann Lundgren, based over in Ashland. It's their newest feature film. They're taking it out on the road, bouncing around the state. So last night was their Eugene screening. They did one in Klamath on, what was that, Bowen, Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah. So they did a screening and Q&A at Pelican Cinema on Sunday. Last night was here at, I call it the Bijou. It's the art house now. And Schwab, do you still call it the Bijou? I think Taylor still called it the
yeah.
Bijou when he showed up. So
Yeah. Well, fortunately, Edward saved it. Yeah. It was,
yeah.
Bijou went down, but it's a great place now still.
Yep, yep. So anyway, there was a film. Maybe we'll have it in the film festival in September. I don't know what Gary and Ann's distribution plans are for this one, but we have shown, I think, every single one of their feature films we've shown in the Klamath Independent Film Festival. Starting with Calvin Marshall, we showed Black Road in 2016. We showed Phoenix, Oregon. Not only did we show Phoenix, Oregon, but for those of you there in Klamath who've gone down Main Street, you may notice a big black historic marker out in front of the Daily Bagel, and that is our marker on the Oregon Film Trail, recognizing Phoenix, Oregon, because that film was the #1 movie in America for one weekend because of very fun, odd circumstances, and shot in Klamath Falls with just about everyone who was a part of Klamath Film being an extra or part of the crew. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you again, Mike. Sorry we didn't get a ton of time to talk last night, but
Yeah.
always appreciate you joining in.
It was good to see. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what today has in store. Should be cool.
And then Alberto, have you joined us before?
Hello, hello. Sorry, I had my camera off.
No
I
worries.
have not joined you guys before, and I'm very happy to be here. I actually just found about this event 30 minutes prior.
Oh,
I'm a college student I'm a college student at Central Washington University, and I'm doing this. I decided to attend the Zoom meeting because and I'm sorry I'm having internet interruptions here at my home
that's
right
okay.
now.
We can see and hear you just fine. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to learn more about the film industry. Specifically, I'm taking a course on Native American history, and hopefully, I can possibly learn about the impact that the film industry has had for certain aspects of or that it has had on a Native American history. So yeah,
Yeah.
just I'm just a student here learning, and I appreciate your guys' time and for I seen it online that this was open to the public, so I said, hey, instead of watching my 1 hour of cartoons today, let me put on my educational calendar today and learn something new. And thank you very much for having me. And like I said, I am having some internet troubles
Mhm.
here on my street. They're doing some construction here, so if I do cut off, it's not my fault. I completely I apologize, but I am thankful for you guys having for you guys having me today, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you
Well,
so much for joining us.
yeah, thanks
Thank
for being
you.
here. So, Alberto, to give you a sense of who we are, then Klamath Film is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Klamath Falls, Oregon, down by the California border. It's a collective of filmmakers, actors, creatives, and film fans that get together. This is just a very casual networking event to talk about upcoming projects, things we're excited that we've seen, things we may be fundraising for, or cast and crew calls that we have going on. And then we always include a featured guest every month. We invite someone from the film industry to join us to talk about what they do, how they got into it, general advice, and just kind of wherever the conversation goes. And tonight, our guest is a Native American actor that's appeared in many films and television shows. And as you heard before, he was part of a production that happened in our general area in Southern Oregon a couple of years ago. So, and if you have time or if you want to bookmark it at some point and go back to it later, if you look up Klamath Film on YouTube, there is our panel discussion from, I want to say, the 2022 Klamath Independent Film Festival. If you just search KIFF, Kiff, Klamath Film, and Native American as keywords, you'll find about an hour-long dialogue that Rufino was a part of, along with several other actors, several Klamath tribal members, as well as a local historian, and the filmmakers, where we had an incredible conversation about exactly what you're talking about institutionalized trauma, multi-generational trauma, how that's been presented in the arts, history of the Modoc Wars, how we non-tribal individuals can be better stewards and allies and neighbors. All of those things were part of about an hour to hour and a half long conversation during our film festival that for what you're studying, I think might be really helpful and really interesting, compelling.
Really good talk.
And I really appreciate it. And sorry for breaking eye contact. I was just jotting down some notes. I'm like a sponge right now. I'm just absorbing this all in.
It's all good. Do you want to be a filmmaker or an actor or what?
I'm actually going to graduate soon. I'm actually a senior in the ITAM project management. I'm just taking this class as an elective, and I like to really immerse myself in the course and really learn about what's going on. And like, I even though I'm taking this course as an elective, like I take it as I want to do my due diligence and really research the topics and really paying a lot of money for education. I really want to get the most out of it and really learn about what's going on in the world around me and not just be in it, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to spread your guys' knowledge and wisdom. So
Didn't we have some of those documentaries on the Native American stuff and
Yes,
the
we
last
did.
stuff? Can you tell them about that?
thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
This isn't a classroom, so you can let your hair down. It's totally fine. Casual. It's just meant to, these meetings are meant to just, build the conversation between film lovers, filmmakers, everyone in between at any point, including someone like you who just started. So really just feel free to take your time, talk to everyone here, and that you can contribute just as much of the conversation as what you're listening to as well.
Okay, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So Rufino will be joining us in about 20 minutes. So that gives us plenty of time to network. I know, Jared, you have a project that you're looking for people to help out with, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for extras on Sunday at 12:30 at Gathering Grounds Coffee Shop downtown. We'll be there probably for about an hour and a half, 2 hours to shoot a scene there, and then we'll be moving on to some other scenes after that. But I just need extras for that short time period, about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay. If anyone wants to be a part of a film production,
I'd love to join.
talk to Jared.
I'm going to be in LeGrand this weekend for my sister's wedding. I'm so sorry.
Schwab, you want to travel down from Eugene and film for an hour?
Yeah, maybe send us some gas money. I'll get a van. We'll rent that thing down.
I will say it has been kind of interesting being back home in Eugene. First of all, it's surreal. I grew up here. I'm not from Klamath, but I was in Klamath for about a decade, and now going back to Eugene, there's a wonderful collective of filmmakers and actors that are starting up a group in the Eugene area, Lane County Filmmakers, and they've also started a nonprofit. They have a community TV studio, so they've got a full-on soundstage for community TV productions that people are accessing, and I think, Mike, you've probably used that for a couple of your things, right?
Totally. Yeah, we knew there's a lot of potential here. This is a great place to create cool stuff, and we've got the universities here, and the arts are big, and so it was just like, it's weird that people aren't really connecting, and so it's nice to be able to build that connection. And the community TV station is awesome. Been there, and it's been around for 20 some years, and very few people are using it. It was like, this is a totally underused, like, great thing for this community. And so I was just like, yeah, let's get the word out about this place. I mean, it's kind of hidden back there, right behind Shell. It's like this little hidden gem back there. And so we had issues. The guy who was running it passed away, and it looked like it was going to go down. But fortunately, David DeRienzo, you met him.
Yes.
He was able to, grab the torch, whatever. And he's brought it back to life, and it's good. So yeah, there's a lot of potential here, and I'm glad that you're involved, because it's nice to have you. That's for sure. And it's been good to build connections too. I've been trying to connect with Portland people to kind of create this like Portland, Eugene thing, because I think in the whole Willamette Valley, or this whole stretch, there's a lot of talent and motivated people, and so it's been good to see it grow. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's a nice collective of filmmakers here and a bunch of actors that have all collaborated on each other's projects over time. And a few months ago, before I officially moved here, I had sit downs with a few of the key players in town, and just kind of mapped out what Klamath Film has been doing for over a decade now in Klamath Falls. And they're largely, I won't say copying, but trying to emulate and follow what we've done well for the past decade, and bring the same vibe of what we have with Klamath Film to the Eugene community, and make it more of a collaborative community of all of the creatives together. So that's wonderful to see that kind of fledgling and starting to bubble
Yeah.
up. There's some networking things that are going to be happening soon, and it's great.
Yeah, connect all of Oregon, all the way from Portland down to Klamath. Sure.
So, Jared, you have your big project, but does anyone else have anything that they have upcoming that they want to announce, or anything they need help with, or projects they're trying to work on right now?
Well, I've seen some posts on Facebook of a gentleman that's new to the area and trying to decide whether to attend, was it Lane Community College or whatever the other one was up there, and been wanting to recommend you, that he needs to get in contact with you and see what kind of connections you have up there. If you could make a post on, I think it was filming in Southern Oregon or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw that one pop up, which
Okay.
I mean, Lane Community College here in Eugene does have some film classes. University of Oregon has a cinema studies program, but it's not necessarily film production. It tends to lean more towards like, the critic approach and more of an academic side to it. There is a U of O, film, uh, not full on program. I don't know if it's a minor or it's just a club or what, but there are students doing things. Portland State has a really wonderful film program. Eastern Oregon University has a program. A couple of the community colleges, I think, have some classes, but SOU down in Ashland, their digital cinema program is fantastic. I think that one is the top cinema film school in the state. So if they're genuinely looking for where to go to school, SOU is where they should go. I really think Andrew's built that program up to something really incredible.
Yeah, and I think actually Lane probably is better than than U of O as far as if you actually want to make movies, because I think the media arts program there is pretty good. They've got a studio and I think they're actually more active than the U of O as far as like let's make things, but it's
Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the U of O program, but I think it's more so, maybe it's something more along the lines of what you're kind of doing, Alberta, with classes and whatnot. It's not so much film production, it's critiquing like all of the aspects of Ben-Hur versus Citizen King, and, fully analyzing Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and, we're really trying to dissect things from an academic and, scientific perspective as a critical expert, as opposed to let's go make a movie.
yeah, it's not good to talk about.
Not good.
About 10 years ago, I was introduced to a professor at OIT that was doing something similar to that. And it was, just kind of talking about movies instead of making them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, this person wanted to move to the Eugene area. And I was, trying to get them in contact with you and, maybe they attend one of your classes or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, I can redirect him to people. I'm obviously in Eugene now, not in Klamath, so I'm a tad disconnected. But yeah, I can definitely provide advice. We should also mention the reason why our intrepid executive director is not joining us tonight is because he's currently a production assistant on a feature film shooting in the Ashland area for the next 2 months. He's working directly with Bruce Campbell on Bruce's next major film. So Logan.
Has he had the chance to give you any updates on how that's going?
We haven't talked much because he's working like 12-hour days, 6 days a week. He's
The life of a PA.
yes, he's pretty darn busy at the moment. But I've talked to him a little bit off and on, and I'm sure I'll get the rundown. I may or may not end up doing some drone work on that film at some point if they need it. We'll kind of see how that plays out. So, but yeah, that's cool that icon of B movie lore, Bruce Campbell, is making a feature film right now, and our executive director is directly involved in it.
I also have my Klamath history series, Klamath
Right.
Chronicles. So I'm always looking for subjects. If anybody knows of people, I really just want to capture that history before we lose it. So older people that have great stories to tell about history in the Klamath Basin, please get in touch with me. I'd love to capture that.
And Jared,
Tom Kulik would be a resource for it.
yes,
He was involved in Civil War reenactment program. He's a bit of a historian as well. So,
Yeah, Tom Cooley and also Todd Keppel would be two people you should absolutely approach. Todd is a little camera shy sometimes, but he knows everything and everyone. So he'd be a great. Also, Lee Juilliard would be a fantastic one. He's retired now, but he was a newspaper reporter here for decades, and again knows everybody and knows all the nuances. I may end up needing your help, Jared, at some point down the line for some film production as well. I'm currently pursuing a what's called the Tell Your Story grant. Some of you may be familiar with this. It's presented by the Oregon Film Office every year. They give out a handful of grants for filmmakers who want to do their own film projects. And so recently, part of the reason why I'm here in Eugene now is I left Klamath Community College and I'm now the marketing director for a place called the Wow Hall here in Eugene, which is a grand historic old concert venue in a building that's almost 100 years old. And
I thought it was a strip club.
No, the Wow Hall is really the only all ages venue in town. I grew up going there as a scrawny teenager in the 80s and 90s, so it's really surreal being back there and now helping to, expand its marketing. But I'm trying to get some funds together to do a documentary series on historic venues across Oregon. And I'll start with the Wow Hall, but I want to do something. Jesse and Paul did something on the Raglan a couple of years ago, but no one's done anything on the Alger Theater in Lakeview. There's the theater out in Ashland that's being remodeled right now. Is that the Hollywood Theater or something like that it's called?
Does it just have to be theater locations?
Not necessarily. What I wanted to do was look at historic buildings where the arts are presented in the community and the impact that has on the community. Talking to individuals who grew up attending there and this nostalgic connections with grand old theaters and how that kind of architecture doesn't really exist anymore. It kind of started with the silent film era in the 1910s and 20s, and
it's just been waiting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of these buildings have been torn down or they've been repurposed. There's a few here in Eugene, the McDonald Theater and the Wow Hall. So I'd like to do videos on both of those and kind of look at the history of the buildings, interview some of the people who've performed there, as well as the people who've been longtime patrons of it, the people who keep it running, and then maybe bounce around Portland a little bit, go to some of the Eastern Oregon places. So I want to make this into a whole video series, but I want to start with doing one on the Wow Hall. Obviously, work what you know, and I'm there almost every day now. So but I do want to come down there and work on some stuff in Southern Oregon. So I may need your help on that, Jared, if you're available and of interest in doing some cool documentary work.
Kurt, there's the Broadway Theater in Malin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 1931 when that one was built.
And your contact for there would be Ryan Bartholomew, and
yes,
probably still some people alive that could talk about when it was in its heyday. So
I know Ryan very well. In fact, the Indigenous panel I was talking about, he was our historian on that Indigenous panel.
Yeah. He does a little bit of everything.
He knows everything and everyone. In fact, I lined up Ryan to be in a documentary that was shot at the Klamath County Museum. I want to say a year, maybe 2 years ago. Discovery Plus was doing a documentary on the Japanese balloon bombs. And so I was like, I know the perfect person that you need to talk to. So we had them interview Ryan in full uniform at the museum. So that went over great. But yes, I've gotten a tour of the full Broadway, including the projector room all up top by the blanking on his name, but the gentleman who runs the church youth group that owns the building.
Yeah.
But thank you for the reminder on that. The Broadway is a great one that should also be.
And then I believe also that the Star Theater in Bly. Has been refurbished too. So, and it's still standing. So.
And the Alger out in Lakeview just got, they had multiple grants to refurbish the building, and it just got registered as a National Historic building. So that it's great to see that one up and running.
The Elsinore in Salem, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start making a full list. I got to get the grant first, and they'll announce it in July. But if I get the funds, this is what I want to do.
That's cool.
Well, and that theater over in Ashland, isn't that Jim Belushi, besides being a pot farmer, that owns that theater and it was refurbishing it?
I think he's involved. I think it's a whole collective of people that have been fundraising for it and pursuing grants. But I think he's involved partially, as well as Bruce Campbell is also involved.
Hmm.
And I see our guest tonight was just joined us. But before we get to Rufino, does anyone else have any project? Hey, Rufino. Hey, good to see you, man. Does anyone else have any projects or things that they want to go over before we get rolling?
Nothing too crazy at the moment since I'm still building like plot outline and stuff. But for the short film that I'm doing, one of the logistical things I need to figure out is I need to find a van.
A van?
Yes, a van to use.
Okay.
That's something that like low priority, and I almost didn't bring it up because it's just like, I could just search for it on my own. But like looking for like a kind of like a delivery van.
Right. So the first ones I would talk to in Klamath would be either the Chamber of Commerce, Discover Klamath, or KCETA. Go in there and talk to them because normally they have vans that they use all around town for like special events and conferences.
Great. Yeah, great idea, Kurt. I can reach out to them. I just because I've seen them in like the vans that they've had all around, and I imagine that they're kept in pretty good condition. So I feel bad. Like I've just been driving around for like the past few months, like month and a half or so, looking at people's vans and like their yards, just like, do I go up and just ask? I don't know.
Well, welcome everyone, and hello, Rufino. Before we delve into your whole career and how you became an actor and some of the projects you've worked on, just know this is a very off-the-cuff conversation with fellow filmmakers, actors, film fans, most of whom are based in Southern Oregon, that are just, we get together once a month, and it's a very casual hangout. Most people you see over there are hanging out at a local bar. And just a chance to talk about films that we love and learn a little bit about you and the things that you do and how you got into the industry and any advice that you have. But first, we want to let you know who we are so that you have a better sense of kind of where we're coming from. So if you'll indulge, give us just a couple of minutes here. We'll just kind of go around and quickly introduce ourselves and kind of who we are, if we're involved in the industry. And we kind of throw in sometimes like something you just recently watched or something that you found really cool, but keep it short. Obviously we're short on time and Rufino has other things to do. So we appreciate his time very much. So first of all, my name's Kurt Lidke. I'm the board chair of Klamath Film. I am a filmmaker and photographer by trade. I'm just moved to Eugene, where I'm the marketing director of the Wow Hall, a historic all ages concert venue, and getting involved in the film scene here, as well as still being tied in with Klamath Film. I'm also a commercial drone pilot as well. Schwab, let's do the online folks first. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Mike Schwab. I'm a filmmaker and actor, sketch comedy writer here in Eugene. And yeah, we saw that movie Above the Trees last night, a Southern Oregon made film. That was awesome. Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm glad to be here.
And Wayne, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Wayne Sweat. I was a late bloomer. I didn't start acting until 2000 on a dare. Since then, I've also written and directed and been a camera operator and lighting and sound and you name it, but my main focus is really as an actor, and just appreciate being here, and thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Wayne. Lori. Hello, Lori.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Lori. I've been a Klamath Film member since 2017, was on the board a couple years and have volunteered and helped out with people's film projects. I started making stop motion short films in 2020 and now a 3-time festival selected filmmaker. Just submitted Squirrely Justice to KIF this year, see if it gets in. Yeah, that's me.
Terrific. And Alberto, who we're meeting for the first time. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, even though I know we went through that earlier.
All right. Can you guys all see me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Nice to meet you all. My name is Alberto Gomez. I am a student at Central Washington University. I found this Zoom meeting by chance 30 minutes before this Zoom meeting started. I actually have an assignment due tomorrow where I have to kind of just attend an event. I've already attended another event, but I googled this one. I was like, wow, I get to meet a famous actor. You know, wow, and it's open to the public. You know, I don't have a lot of money, so free was a big thing for me. And yeah, I'm just glad. I don't have a lot of questions I'm gonna ask. I'm just gonna be a fly on the wall. But I just kind of just want to just to learn about your guys' world. And I'm taking this class as an elective, so I don't have a lot of questions to ask, or I don't have a lot to offer, but, I just kind of want to learn about, your guys' world a little bit, and just kind of immerse myself in the kind of things that you guys think about, and just kind of just change my day-to-day routine and just kind of learn more about the film industry and how has impacted your life, and what kind of changes that has brought to you, and what kind of doors that has opened up for you. And not only that, but what kind of impact it has had on your life and the impact around your community, And I think that it's very important and very empowering to be on a television screen. You're viewed by so many people, and as someone who I know have no intention of ever being in the film industry, I don't have any artistic talent in that sense, but I've always grew up watching movies, and I always admired movie stars and people on the big screen, and it's truly a blessing to be here. I know I don't have a lot to offer it, and I might have to leave a little early, but thank you all for having me today. And yeah.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you. And then let's go around the table and get some introductions for the folks who are over at Growler Guys.
First, go ahead. Okay. So hello, everyone. Hello, Rufino. My name is Bowen Browder. I am the vice board chair for Klamath Film, so I work very closely with Kurt, Wayne, and everyone else. Very often involved in a lot of things that go on in Klamath Film, both just as helping with liaison services, but also doing film work myself, because I also am an actor based in the local area. Still relatively new, been doing it for a few years now, but always, just trying to keep building up. I've just recently, earlier this year, I finished, or over the last 3 months or so, I finished a couple of an indie production, some other work and things that I've been doing, and also some other things that I'm not able to talk about yet, but also working on my own short film at the moment as well. Just love storytelling, love filmmaking of all kinds. I know that, what is it? A film that I just recently watched, but it's still semi-recently. It's been a little while, but I did rewatch Fantastic Mr. Fox, directed by Wes Anderson. That film, it is one of my favorite films of all time. It's like a comfort movie. It's like putting on a warm blanket, and it's what an amazing movie. But yeah, just I want to savor people's ears from talking all day about it. But good film.
We all have at least one, if not several, of those films where if you're flipping through channels and it comes on, doesn't matter if you watch it 100 times, you're going to sit and watch it until it runs to the end. So.
I saw that Hulu added it, and I immediately dropped everything. It's just all right, I'm watching this.
Okay, let's go around the table there. Larry. Hello, Larry. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you guys. I'm Larry Vernelli, and last November I moved up here from LA, enjoying the quiet life. And I just had an audition today, and I'm sitting out in the woods by my building site and saying, this is awesome. I can do a self-tape right out here in the wilderness. And it was a really good feeling. So that's
Larry's a SAG actor who's appeared in quite a few films and TV shows over the years. And we're now lucky to have him in the Klamath Basin.
I'm actually a little jealous of Larry right now. Self-tape all the way over there, not need to be here in Los Angeles for that. A little jealous, I'm not gonna lie, Larry.
Well, move up here then.
Hey, don't tempt my heart now.
He's already seen how gorgeous our area was. He shot one film up here already. Okay, let's keep it going. Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Molyneux. I'm a PhD student. My dissertation and studies focus on silent film industry. My project for the summer is centering on the 1926 film that was shot here in Klamath Falls called The Ice Flood. Had a couple of name brand people in it, Kenneth Harlan and Viola Dana. So I'm really working hard on that. I will an exhibit for that project as well too. So stay tuned. I may ask some of you for some artifacts or where I might be able to at least get a photo of something so I can include it in an exhibit. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I'm from here and I've left a couple hundred times and came back.
Had a very fun conversation with Karen where I rambled way too much about the role of women in the early silent film era and how it was until the studio system got built by the mid-20s, there were no major barriers. It was just if you can do the job, do the job. And then suddenly, if you're female, then you're going to be an editor or hair and makeup. And it took decades for them to break through that barrier.
When the niche topic rant about society bug bites you, it bites you.
I apologize, Karen, if I rambled too much because she did have to transcribe all of my meandering talk about that.
Thank goodness for Zoom Translator. So it just printed it out for me.
Okay. She said she just used Zoom Translator, so it printed everything for her. So she didn't have to type out my long rambling talk about all the amazing women from the early silent film era. John. Hello, John.
Yeah, I've just been a Klamath film member for a number of years, but I've been kind of tied up with domestic life and taking care of parents and stuff. So I haven't really been able to make film, but Kurt was always asking, what did you do this week? What did you do? So I'm like, dang it, nothing. and so I got tired of that. So I decided I would at least pick something. And I decided, if I'm going to make a film, I'm going to make a cyberpunk film because there's always more room for cyberpunk. So hopefully I can get this thing made one day. I've kind of got all the major ideas I want to do in it, but Bowen's looking at me over there. I think there's a lot of interest in this field, and at least the story would kind of be a little bit of a take on all the things that we've gone through in our recent times too. So it's kind of poignant, but I just hope to get it done one day. But anyways, that's just me in a nutshell. And I'm just helping teach at the Eagle Ridge School here this last couple terms. And so I did a digital arts class, and this term I'm doing a digital music production class.
Nice.
Well, again, you might want to talk to Tom Cooley. He's a huge cyberpunk fan. Loves to dress up and play games.
Did you say Tom?
Yeah, Tom
Cooley.
Yeah, Tom Cooley.
Where is he now? Is he here in town, or is he back east, or where is he?
No, best I know, he's still here in town.
Okay.
And Jared, hello, Jared, one of our resident filmmakers.
Yeah, my name is Jared Hurd. I'm a commercial filmmaker here in Klamath Falls. Do a little bit of everything, documentary. I'm shooting a short film starting this Sunday. Been doing this for 26 years, started my career in broadcast TV, and fell in love with filmmaking when I was 7 when I saw behind the scenes on Star Wars. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. That is us. Let's get to know who our guest is. And first of all, here's just a quick snippet of his IMDb. If you can see that, it's probably small print, but our guest tonight has been on television shows like NCIS and Moments. He's been on a few soap operas, Bold and Beautiful, General Hospital. He's been in films. And of course, we got to know Rufino when he and a crew came out to Klamath. We helped them with a lot of the pre-production for a short film called This Is Their Land that was shot here. That actually, quick plug, was part of the Klamath Independent Film Festival in 2022. And our deadline submission is coming up very soon. June 1st is our submission deadline. So Schwab, if you've got a project or others that have worked on a project in the past year, spread the word. June 1st is our submission deadline for this year's Film Fest. As well as anyone else in the room listening, get your films in now. We will start judging everything as soon as we close the window, and September 27th through the 29th is going to be this year's Film Fest. So Rufino was part of this incredible cast and crew that came up in the middle of the pandemic, having to figure out how do we film and how do we have a large production with all of the restrictions. Shot all around the lava beds, fought through a snowstorm that messed with things. And of course, we had another production happening in town at the exact same weekend. So I was running between both sets back and forth. But it ended up being a wonderful experience. And Rufino and others that were involved were kind enough to come back for when we world premiered that film at the Klamath Independent Film Festival. And he's just an all around good dude who is heavily involved in the TV and film industry. So, Rufino, why don't you we introduced ourselves. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you got into all of this?
Sure. First off, good evening, everybody. It's great to hear everyone's names. It's great to hear love the table and the little podcast setup you guys have over there. And just thank you for letting me come and be able to talk to you guys. My name is Rufino Romero. Interesting fact, I don't know, Kurt, if you even know this. I was actually born and raised in Hollywood.
Oh.
I grew up 2 blocks away from the Hollywood, the Chinese Man's Theater. I went to Hollywood
I
High.
used to live on Franklin Boulevard, like a block away from it. So yeah.
I lived on Highland and Sunset. 1 block from there is Mansfield, and that's
Yeah.
where I lived.
Yeah.
So
When I worked at when I worked at Capitol Records, I lived on Franklin, like just a block or two away. So yeah.
yeah, so I grew up literally 2 blocks away from seeing the Oscars and the Academy Awards every other year as a kid. Um, Never wanted to get into acting. Never thought about it because when I grew up, it wasn't the priority per se. I was raised up by a single mother. Fast forward, I ended up becoming a medic. I'm a licensed EMT, and one of the things that I needed to do to ensure I was able to talk to my patients was I needed to communicate. And so I looked for speech classes. I was 23 years old, and I remember I couldn't find any speech classes. So for whatever reason, I saw acting classes, and I thought, oh, well, actors, they project, they enunciate, they speak with such confidence, all that. So I took an acting class and fell in love with it. Then from there, I studied for about 2 years at Atwater Playhouse School of Acting, very traditional stage, theater, Stanislavski teaching. Then from there, I ended up going to Actors Workout Studio, Meisner, a little bit of Lee Strasberg and Atler. And then from there, I ended up going to um, New Collective school that's based off of Susan Batson's teachings. Susan Batson, she's helped actors like Nicole Kidman or Matthew McConaughey or Lady Gaga. Actually, she's Lady Gaga's specific teacher for Joker and for all the other previous films that she's done. So I've studied under those teachings, philosophies, and things like that. I've been an actor for about 10 years, and definitely I would not say I'm a famous actor, but I would say luckily with a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency and a lot of persistence, I am a working actor. I just got booked for a couple of dubbing sessions and voiceover sessions, and that's the one thing about acting is that I came to find out over the 10 years is that going from acting in shorts, acting to independent features, acting to commercials, acting into voiceover for the commercials, getting into voiceover, oh, then getting into dubbing. And luckily, I've been able to consistently work as an actor using that vehicle with my voice. And then going from there, meeting people, producers, directors, and then like, hey, come and audition for this. Hey, do this. And the next thing you know, luckily I was able to get to Bold and the Beautiful or The Young and the Restless or NCIS. And it's been really great. It's been a lot of hard work. And I've been solely centralized working consistently as a SAG actor here in Los Angeles. But I've been able to go to other locations to be able to film. Filmed over there in Klamath, filmed in San Diego, filmed in New Mexico, filmed in where else did I film? Las Vegas, independent films, short films, things like that. And luckily, I've been able to get a handful of national commercials over the last 5 years. Worked with Budweiser, Modelo, Nissan, things like that. Commercials that's shown for last year. I did a beer commercial for Budweiser and ended up coming out during the Super Bowl, which was really great and it was really wonderful and it was nice. But yeah, that's been
Did
most.
you have to do a lot of takes?
Say that again.
Did you have to do a lot of takes on the beer
So
commercials?
so it was interesting. I don't know if anyone knows. So this is one of the things we could talk about. It's funny because I've done 2 national beer commercials, one for Modelo, one for Budweiser, and it's always apple juice. It's not. Yeah, it's always apple juice. So I'm happy because I love apple juice. So like I was drinking the whole time, like, hey, easy on the beer. I'm like, I can't. It's like
It's one of those things like Rufino. I don't know if you've ever gotten like a fast food commercial or something,
Oh,
but
yeah.
people
Dunkin'
don't
Donuts.
realize like after take 30 of biting into a hamburger, like you're supposed to look like almost orgasmic in that first bite, but you just want to vomit.
Yep. Yep. Well, I don't know about you, but I remember I did the Dunkin' Donuts National and we had the spit bucket. So
Mm.
I don't know about you, but I had to eat a ham croissant over and over and over again. I just remember this immediate, and it was cold. And because I don't know how Props deals with it, but I remember that they sprayed it with water or something because it has to glisten.
Yeah, get those
Camera.
little droplets.
So they had to drop it. So I got to bite into that. So immediately it's a cold, soggy, wet croissant that I would have to bite. And that one I did have to do I think it was like 18 takes.
If I remember correctly, the people who are specifically meant to like make commercial and movie food look more attractive, they're called food stylists.
Yep.
Which is just it's such an interesting pair of words to put together. And just that idea of, where it's like the food has to look good. It does not have to taste good, which is unfortunate.
Unfortunately, no, well, fortunately and unfortunately, I had a friend, he ended up getting a national for, what was it, back in the day, Red Lobster. And he had to take a bite out of fish. And they had to make sure that it was healthy and things like that. But after a while, it looked brand new every single time. But I think they went through, like, he told me they went through 10, 15 fishes.
Well, and you mentioned that you've done a lot of voice work too, which is the really nice thing if you can get voice work because no costumes and no makeup, right?
No costumes and all
You can show up in a t-shirt and sweats and do voice acting. So
so I have a thing about that. I would strongly recommend no, because one thing I've learned, and I think this is what's helped me be a working actor, is for me, raised up by a single mother, I was brought up with the idea of respect and consideracy. So every single time when I go into a booth or anything else, I come in very professionally, be it dubbing, whatever it is. And so I don't dress up in a suit and things like that, but I come dressed up and hello, good morning, how are you, and things like that.
Right.
And I've multiple times, and it happened on NCIS, I remember, is that the director or producers, they're like, you have such etiquette, and I love that. Like, what, like I'll here's my number and things like that. And it was surprising to know that yes, doing the job is great, yet having etiquette, everyone sees. Everyone on set sees. I remember, I think even one of the grips on NCIS, he came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, thanks for being respectful." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, "Well, I've been hearing you say excuse me, good morning, and all that stuff." And like, it's weird to hear an actor say that. And I'm like, "Really?" And I was a co-star on that one, and then same thing ended up. That's why I got a recurrent for Bold and the Beautiful. I came out in 3 episodes, was because the first time when I came in, I had a background as an EMT and medic, and I came in, but I came in doing my job, and I remember that specifically Frank O, I believe was his name. He was director at the time. We did a couple of B rolls and things like that. Emergency situation going on, and every single time I'm focusing on doing what I have to do before I have my scene. And then I remember he just yelled cut, like screaming cut. He's like, stop and effing stop. And he would go up to some of the actors, he's like, you're not doing your job, you're being lazy, like why are you guys not acting as firefighters and sheriffs? Like you're not acting the way you're supposed to act. And it's funny and interesting because a lot of those guys, you wouldn't think that the camera wasn't on them, but the director was aware enough that he didn't care. He just wanted to make sure that everyone was on their point. And then I remember he walks up to me and I'm nervous because I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing my job. Like I was getting the oxygen tank, like I was doing everything. He grabs my shoulder and he whispers, Rufino, I saw you've been doing your job take by take, even though you're not on camera. Keep doing that, please. And then we'll get to your scene very quickly. And then Lisa Booth, who's the casting director to Bold and the Beautiful, she called me up during lunch. And remember, I had to submit some paperwork, and I love her to death. I knock on the door and like, hi, Lisa, it's Rufino. Rufino, come here. Oh my God, come. Thank you for making me look so good. Oh my God. And I saw that she had her own video village camera of what was going on set. Came to find out that on camera, because especially soap operas, there's like 5 different cameras. There was 4 different remote live streaming that was happening. One on the casting director, one on the executive producers, and one on another producers, along with Video Village. And they all saw my work when I wasn't on camera, when the camera would see me like focusing things like that. So I came to find out, be professional, be respectful, be etiquette, because you never know who's watching. And then
Yeah.
Lisa Booth she called me without an audition. I remember she called me, Rufino, are you available this day? I'm like, yeah, sure. Cool. We need you back as a co-star again. I'm like, oh, great. So,
And this is really amazing advice, whether you're in Hollywood, Eugene, Klamath, wherever. Keep in mind that the film industry, for as big as people think it is actually a very small and incestuous group. Everyone kind of knows everyone. And so it's largely reputation based. It's largely, and film sets, Larry, I know you've been on 1,000 film sets. You can speak to this too. The fact that everyone's under stress. Everyone knows that we're on the clock. Everyone's trying to work hard. If you just take a little bit of time to show kindness and respect in that can actually go a really long ways in not just making that shoot tolerable, but potentially future ones like what you're talking about.
I think another time and it's hard. That's really challenging. I remember I did I did a series as a recurrent guest star on for a BET show called Cocaine Sisters. And I remember for the first day of shooting, it was a night shoot, and I had to come in, and the first scene was that I find out my niece has been killed along with my brother. But I was supposed to have a 2-hour prep time to get ready and get in my emotions and things like that and stuff like that. It's a great story. I get a call from production saying like, oh, we actually need you to come in 30 minutes. I'm like, wait, I was scheduled to come in later. Like, no, can you get here now? Schedules have changed and like we could really use you right now. I'm like, all right, sure. So I show up, and literally when I land in the parking lot, I literally just open the car to my door. Sound is there, wardrobe is there, the first AD is there, and one of the producers is there. And it's like, we need you on set within 10 minutes. I'm like, wait, what? Like, you got to do your scene, the scene that I'm like, wait, I was supposed to have 2 hours to just chill and get in my. It's like, no, we got. And so I'm walking, which is a 5-minute walk to set, while wardrobe is taking off my shirt, sound is putting in the lav, props is putting in the jewelry, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, all right, we gotta do this. That's just what it is. We get to set, and in the bedroom, there's my dead niece, there's a cop, and there's my dead brother. I'm like, okay, yep, this is what they warned me about in school and other friends and other actors. This is it. You just got to shoot and go, shoot and go. So, and I remember the director was stressed and infuriated for some other stuff. I'm like, okay, he just needs the job done. Okay, cool. Hey, how's it? What was his name? Dean, how are you? It's good to see you. What do you need me to do? Oh, here's the blocking. We're just gonna do one-time blocking, then we're gonna shoot. I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. Bam, 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 cool. Did say, all right. And luckily they did Ridley Scott set us. They had 3 cameras, so they had 3 different angles to be able to get it very quickly. And one thing, at least from my teachings, that I remember with auditioning is when it comes to scene work, especially something like that, The second they say action, take your time. And that was a moment where like literally he yelled action. I'm like, and I didn't go until I was ready. Because I needed to prep. I had no time to prep. So I just was able to take a breath, and I spent hours and hours, just like I did for the film. This is Their Land. I do a lot of journaling. I do playlist. I do inner monologues and some other things. But journaling, at least for me, helps a lot with the character's backstory, and playlist helps a lot as well. Mashallah Ali, he that's one of the things he says. He always creates a playlist for his characters, and for me, it helps me. It evokes not only internal dialogue and compartmentalization of emotions set up in a person's backstory, but it just gives kind of like layers and colors to a character, and you understand like what's their direction emotionally going towards. And we did a one take, and everyone just like looked at each other. I'm like, cool, you guys want to go again? And then director yells like, fuck yeah, we got it. I'm like, sure. And then first AD is like, no, let's get one for safety. I'm like, all right, let's get one for safety. And and I was able to bring in the waterworks. So I was able to cry in the first shot. And then we did it again, and I did it just a little bit more intense. And so they had two different flavors for the take. Yet the whole time I remember I was so upset and I was so angry, but I couldn't show it. And so I just kept it very to everyone. I'm like, good, I'm happy it worked. Excuse me, I have to go. Thank you. Kept things very simple. I went back to my trailer and I remember I was infuriated, but then I had to calm down and realize we got the job done. And so that's what mattered most than anything else.
Another amazing piece of advice there from Rufino is even if you think take one was absolutely flawless, you always do a second take because maybe there was a glitch, maybe, audio cut off and you think it's perfect until you go back to edit and go, damn it. I really wish we'd done a second take. Unless it's something you cannot do a second take, like the Dark Knight blowing up a hospital in Chicago. They actually blew up a hospital. There's no going back doing take two on that. But if you can do a second take, always do a second take. Yeah, Wayne.
Wayne, can you mute your
Well, I think Wayne actually had a question.
Keeps interrupting or something's doing to make him come in all the time.
Oh no, I think he tried covering his microphone and is talking to someone, but
okay. Well, and also, Rufino, you can also talk about something, we've had actors on here before, but you come in with an interesting experience because you also have extensive experience of on-set safety as an EMT, right? So can you kind of talk about your role in terms of safety on set and some of those protocols?
Yeah. So as I said, the thing that led me into acting was becoming an EMT. 3 years into working with the LA County Fire Department, I came to realize there's a certain position called set medics. And I was like, oh, wait, they're private and things like that. And so I became a set medic, and I've been a set medic for as much time, 7 years as a set medic, and I'm part of IETSE Local 80 as well. But as a set medic, I remember, at least for me, I with a lot of the other medics, I come from the field. I worked in East LA and Whittier in Los Angeles and LA County Fire Department. I always say I haven't seen everything, but I saw enough. And
Right.
so the one thing that's nice about being on set is that it's controlled chaos as opposed to unknown chaos. And when we go into the field, you don't know what the call is. It could be a headache, next thing you know, it's a gunshot wound. For here on set, it's really great. At least for me, I try to take a very proactive set of protocols and being able to talk to producer, director, UPM, things like that. I've worked on as a set medic on my ends. I've worked on 911. I've worked on so many different TV shows, movies. I worked on Westworld. And a lot of the times what I end up doing is it's really great when you have productions. All you guys have been on set and have not heard about set, but it's really great when the production crew, the inside circles, the above the line, that are able to be very efficient and organized. And so if there's a stunt, immediately I go into, at least for me, take the proactive initiative and like, cool, do we have any stunts? Do we have any kids? Or do we have any animals? And luckily, if no to all of them, then it's gonna be an easy day. I'll pass out band-aids. If there's a stunt, like for example, I did a Kanye West music video. There's vultures, there's a car on fire, and there's a car going at about 85 miles an hour through all of that. So I needed to sit with the team, to the pyro team, the first AUD, the director, and we had to have a safety meeting, and we had to had the water tank ready and set to go, and literally talk about step by step what's going to happen if there is an emergency, and the people who are able to go in and to keep everyone away, because everyone does want to help, but for emergency situations, more chefs in the kitchen creates more chaos.
It's something where outsider perspective, a lot of people think, you see all these great stunts and it's like, yeah, but it's Hollywood. They're spending all this money to make sure that it's safe and that it's ready to go. No, people have died on sets. People have been seriously injured on sets, and it happens more often than you think. It's like you said, it's controlled chaos. And so having someone like you present to immediately respond is vitally important.
So this is something interesting that for This Is Their Land, our set was I as much as I didn't want to, the medic side of me came out because many people don't know. I don't know, Kurt, if you know, but we had a scene where my character had to shoot a general.
I was on set for that.
That was the same gun that Alec Baldwin's production
I was
used.
just about to ask about that.
It was the exact same gun. So I have a medic background. So I remember when that happened, as much as I didn't, I was the lead actor, but my medic mode changed, and I immediately went like, I need to see the gun, I need to see the bullet, I need you to show everyone, and I need to have no one touch it the moment you load it. And he looked at me, he's like, he just paused because there was certain set of protocols, and I told him like, I'm a set medic as well. He's like, oh, okay, cool, yeah,
Right, yeah.
great, and that's what happened. And actually, we ended up having a misfire for the second one. And we talked through the protocols, all the steps, what to do to ensure that nothing bad happens. And the second there was a misfire, everything activated in that protocol and everyone was safe. So that's something that I believe is very essential when it comes to safety on set. Someone's asking me, Lori was asking questions.
Yeah.
MMA.
There's a question from Lori in the
Um,
chat, but I quick little addendum to that. When you watch major feature films, and then usually at the end of the end credits, you'll see something that says no animals were harmed in the making of this picture. What they don't add is the subtext is usually the people got the shit beat out of them on set, though, even though no animals were harmed in the making of.
Yeah. I was gonna say that usually with the safety or just anything safe with animals or anything else like that, you have to be very specific, not only for the guns, not only for things blowing up, but this is a good segue into MMA, but also
Yeah.
for MMA, like stunts. Um, One thing I have also a background, I have a background in Muay Thai in 10 years. I have a year background in Jiu-Jitsu, 6 months in Judo, and I've been doing boxing for about 7 years now. And so as a set medic, but also as an actor as well, that is very specific. Unfortunately, as a set medic in the years prior before I was in the union, and I understand because it's production, there's the budget and things like that, and there's always like a go. But sometimes the safety is overlapped. And one thing I will say as an actor, as a set medic, or just as a person on set in general, you have to be proactive. If you feel unsafe, you have to tell someone. And I feel that sometimes people, they feel unsafe, and I've heard actor friends or anyone feel unsafe when doing a choreography for stunts, but they didn't voice it because they were afraid that they would cause problems or be blacklisted or anything else like that. Me, I've had several instances as an actor and as a set medic where I'm like, we have to stop. Like, we're stopping this. And my heart's pumping because director's looking at me. He's like, dude, this is a $10 million film. Why are you telling me to stop? I'm like, there was embers on the side. It ended up going onto the look. I was like, oh, fire, extinguisher. And I was like,
Right.
and it's but it's something that's very is safety. It's the biggest thing. At least for me, it's a very everyone's there to create a story. Everyone's there to for at least in my eyes, the way I see acting, the way I see filmmaking is to make the world better by creating discussion, conversation, inspiring, and heartening things like that. Um, and so that's great, but nothing can be made if safety and comfortability isn't one of the top priorities being on set. So I think that's also something that needs to happen. And usually the first AD is always your best friend. When it comes to safety, the first AD is always he might as well be a medic, be it as my experience as a set medic or be it as an actor. The first AD, no matter what, if you tell them something about safety, they'll stop everything. Like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, wait, what's going on? Be it safety of feeling uncomfortable for maybe an intimate scene or feel maybe a choreography or anything else like that. But usually, I would say for anyone, Larry, I could only imagine like how many times you've been on set in the first AD maybe might have ended up being your best friend because he was like, hey, dude, like that one actor, he's kind of like, dude, he almost like tripped that one. Like, all right, like, but the first AD is usually like your best lifeline. At least that's been my experience.
Larry's most famous scene is having his bare ass on camera. So,
Yeah, man, that has to be the utmost of safety to ensure that nothing happens.
uh, Lori, did that answer your question?
Well, sorry, the question was, I am curious if you're planning to
Yes, Lori asked, I'm curious if you're planning to do or wanting to do MMA in a film. Also, how did you get started in training MMA? You kind of touched on that some.
Well, yeah, well, actually, I've done Muay Thai in 3 films, one feature and 2 shorts. Right now, it's funny enough, I'm actually that's why I had to leave a little bit earlier, and I have an audition for a feature film for a boxer. Um, and I gotta do the self-tape and submission for that. That's kind of interesting. That's an interesting question because I at least for me, I don't know about everyone else, but I always feel that at least here in Los Angeles, I don't know how it is in other cities or towns, but people in Los Angeles seem to want to get into acting, but they don't know how, in what capacity specifically they want to get into acting. It's like, give me commercial, give me short, give me recurrent, give me series, give me the lead in a feature film. It's like, kind of doesn't work that way. Uh, Again, for me, I've realized that I've been able to be a consistent working actor because I've been specific in my goal and specific in the roles that I want. Um, One thing that's happened a lot, Lori, is that because I've gotten into martial arts and I'm dark skinned and a athletic person, I've been put into roles that involve something athletic or in MMA. Yet it's very challenging because roles that require MMA specifically, now it's a different category. And so what happens a lot is like for this role, I have my manager and we started talking about let's transition a little bit into roles that include MMA. And now the audition requirements have changed as opposed to like, let's do an audition, let's do submit your demo reel. Now it's I want to see you spar, I want to see you pad work, I want to see a stunt reel, and I want to see you half naked. In the sense of like no shirt. I want like, do you have tattoos? Do you look like a boxer? Things like that. So it's now the criteria of the roles have completely changed. And I know a handful of stunt people. I know the stunt team from Spider-Man. I know the stunt team from Hunter X, Hunter. I forget the Mayans. And usually the roles in TVs and movies, in my experience and contact with those individuals and stunt teams, is that they have all that footage of sparring, footage of MMA. Are you a professional fighter? Have you gone into the octagon, or do you just practice it? How long have you practiced it? Things like that. So, me specifically, I have recently transitioned my specific roles into now going to the direction of roles that are more inclined to involve action. But with that, now I've literally 2 days ago, I was lucky enough that I recorded a pad session that I had to do, and I'm gonna submit that to the self tape. And so now I'm starting to include that as roles that I would like to be part of.
I have a question for you on the
Yeah.
MMA. How do you, like in boxing, they can hold punches and not really hit you, but in MMA, how do you make it look real when you're in a fight with someone on screen?
Well, angles, camera angles. We're not just the same thing like boxing. It's for example, like in for Muay Thai or anything or Taekwondo or anything, uh, when you do a push kick, you're kicking someone straight into the stomach. On camera, it looks really, really bad. It looks horrible. It just doesn't look right. And so, luckily, with well, I think there was a film I did 5, 6 years ago. I was supporting, and it was Street Level. It's one of the gentlemen who was the series regular to Sons of Anarchy. Smiley, I forget his name, but he was the executive producer and director for this film, and he was just lucky enough where he had a DP who knew how to shoot me fighting this other individual, and he shot it where it looks like I'm kicking this guy through his stomach and through like all the way to his back. And I asked him, how'd you do that? He's like, oh, well, that's my job, DP. Like, I gotta shoot the angles and stuff like that. So, luckily with the stunt team, and there was a stunt team there as well, MMA helps you to understand the basic mechanics of throwing a punch, throwing a kick. Jiu-jitsu helps out for understanding the concepts of doing a takedown or doing a triangle choke. But it usually with the stunt team, there's a whole choreography not only to ensure the safety of everyone, what are the steps that are going to happen in the fight, but also is kind of rehearsal specifically for the camera person. And it's for that specifically to sell the kick or the elbow or things like that, because the camera person will be able to make it like, damn, he just like threw an elbow in his forehead. Like, no, he didn't touch him. He was like 5 feet away from him, but it's all angles.
There's
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say there's always plenty of bloopers if you just do a search on YouTube for when punches or kicks accidentally land on set and the way that people react. Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry, and they're like broke someone's nose or something. But there's also a lot of laughs that come out of that too when the punches and kicks accidentally do connect rather than like narrowly missing and they add the pounding sounds afterwards in Foley.
Yeah, I was needing the chest for that one. I remember, but like I've been doing it for such a long time. Like, oh, I think you were too close. And they're like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Nah, you're fine. But like, luckily, I've been doing it for a while. Like, a knee to my like chest is okay. Like, I unfortunately, I've done too many sparring sessions and fights. But yeah.
Bowen, you had a question?
Yeah, I suppose a kind of a follow-up question to that. And this just comes from, I suppose, me being selfish and bringing it up because I also am a martial arts and combat sport enthusiast. Am I quiet, Rufino?
We can barely hear you. You're a little muffled, but we can hear you.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I had the mics turned down. So I myself, very big into combat sports. Primarily, I wrestle and grapple. Favorite activity ever goes primarily because it goes back to me like roughhousing as a kid. Amazing. But that kind of makes me consider. I've always felt that there is an underrepresentation of grappling or an underrepresented portrayal of grappling and its importance just in action films, fighting films, choreography, anything like that. Would you say that part of that is because would you think that capturing those sorts of techniques or like martial arts is difficult to get those good angles of as opposed to striking? Because everybody knows that like striking sports are better spectator sports than grappling sports. And especially like even ones like wrestling, even then, unless it's like Greco-Roman, sumo, or WWE, whatever, that to some people, it's just not very appealing unless it's just a suplex coming out of nowhere. So do you
Mhm.
think that that angle problem or finding the appealing way to film it is an issue on why it's not really as portrayed as much as striking?
I think that has to do a lot in its relevance with the current market of martial arts, which is the UFC One Championship.
Yeah.
I always forget the ADSS, the Jiu Jitsu World Tournament.
ADCC.
Yeah, thank you. Um, whichever market has, and this is one thing. One of my best friends, he's a friend. He has a couple of films at Netflix. He always tries to remind me there's a artistic side, but then there's the business side. A lot of problems that we have, I used to have, but I came to a reconciliation of it, is I only got stuck on the actor side, the creative side, but I forgot it's a business. It's a business. How are we going to, yeah, in LA, in the LA market, it's a business. How is this going to be able to sell? How is this going to be able to get audiences? How is this going to be able to get people willing to pay $15 for to see the film? And so there has to be like a medium between that. And so with that being said, I feel that the only film I remember seeing something where grappling was like sold and it was sold beautifully, but it had uh real grapplers was Warrior with Tom
I
Hardy.
remember I was just going to bring that up. It was Warrior. Warrior is like the one film I've seen that portrays it true to form, but
Yeah,
like
at
there's
the
no other examples.
but yet at the same time, if you look at that, who were the actors?
Yeah.
Tom Hardy. It was Eight Eagleston. It was the father. I always forget the father. Like these are
all
uh,
trained fighters.
all trained fighters, but also these are like named actors, and sometimes in productions and industries they end up saying money people. Like if you get Tom Hardy connected to your film, you're gonna have a return of investment. There's gonna be a return of investment. So like great. Um, and so I'm starting to know and realize that there's this now this balancing act, this juggling act. Like, cool, let's make grappling, wrestling, great. Who's gonna be your money person? Okay, how are we gonna make it creative? Is it gonna be a good script? And so it's a juggling of all those three. I think and unless UFC One Championship that I've been seeing has been getting more fans and kind of beating UFC in a sense of audiences or rates and stuff like that, and those are striking martial arts. So I personally, this is personal opinion, I think probably the reason why you're not getting a lot of films that are in grappling or wrestling or things like that is just because there's just a lot more money in striking markets, UFC and One Championship, until the audiences decide to go into the jiu-jitsu tournament, which actually is going a little bit, but just jiu-jitsu. Then maybe what that one other film, Steve Carell with Channing Tatum, Fox, Thinking Fox,
Foxcatcher.
Foxcatcher.
Yeah.
Actually had some great wrestling in it, but look who are the actors? It's Steve Carell and like Channing Tatum. They're your money people. So it's like it's this balancing act. I feel.
Does anyone else have questions for Rufino?
Yeah,
Jared,
I'll follow that
it
up.
looks like
I used to run marketing for an MMA promotion about 20 years ago. And so one of the issues we always ran into is the crowd just doesn't understand the ground game is a big thing. You know, and so unless you're educated in it, it just looks like two guys kind of rolling around on the ground. And so you don't get the intricacies of why it's important.
Yeah. 4 points for getting this back. What, you're hugging him and you're getting how do you win hugging him? Like that doesn't make sense. Like and yeah.
Uma Plata, what's that? Sorry.
Yeah, and but everyone understands a punch to the face or a kick to the knee. So it's I think I would imagine that also has to be a challenge when it comes to films in general, how to make it sexy and action packed.
looks like both John and Larry have questions, but first, Mike put in the chat, of all the productions you've been involved with, which one was the most fun and why? And why was it This Is Their Land?
So again, I'm very, very blessed, and I've excuse my French, but I've worked my ass off. I've had so many experiences on set, be it commercials, be it features, speed indie films. And that's actually a hard question. I was a principal actor for D-Day Invasion. I was a radio operator, and it was what you could imagine D-Day was. We had a pyro team, explosives. There was 750 backgrounds, and it was a commercial for the Army. And I was the principal, and and it was the oh, God, I forgot his name. Rodrant. He was the director to Ghost in the Shell, and he was directing this commercial. I would say that was probably the biggest production I was probably part of, because for every single shot we took, it was probably $500,000 every 10 seconds, 20 seconds probably, because it's 750 people just storming, bombs blowing up and shots, and we're shooting up, and I'm in cover and giving codes to commanding base to drop a specific bombs, and it was great. That was fun just because it was one, United States history. I'm a history nerd, and so like I love, Operation Market Garden and all those things. So one, it was a great to reenact a historical event. Two, there was 750 background actors. Everyone was in top tip like uniform from 1942, 1941. And the wardrobe department was amazing. They were great. And then three, it was just, yeah, it was fun. We were storming. I will say this was Malibu, and this was 6 a.m. So it was about 30 below. You guys in Klamath are so used to it, but I'm a LA boy. Like we were pretty warm down here. And so like for me that was like freezing cold. But that was really fun. I because of I had a quick what was it, 5-line dialogue. It was very simple. Again, it was for an Army commercial, but I remember again, every single take we took was worth $500,000. So I made sure to bear ingrain those 5 lines in my brain to ensure that I would not mess up. And we were able to get that one in 4 takes, but none of it was because of me. It was because the bomb didn't go off on time. A soldier tripped in front of me from my close up. What was it? The camera guy fell when he was following me. So and yeah, but I would say that's probably the most fun and fun production I had. This Is Their Land was probably my second favorite one for the challenge, which was I had to learn Modoc, the Modoc language in 10 days. And I had no background. My ancestors are Nahuatl, they're Nahuas, they're Native American, but it's a completely different type of dialect. Yet, yeah, when they hired me as Captain Jack, I remember they're like, "All right, you have 10 days to learn this language." I'm like,
Yeah, it would be like for one of us saying, "Okay, you have 10 days to learn French and go."
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, all right, we're not sleeping for these 10 days.
Right.
Coffee, espresso, you name it. Like, um, for me though, that's why I love acting. I've enjoyed the challenges. I love challenges like that. Like, all right, I'll do it. Oh, you can't do it. Like, all right, oh, you're making it even worse now. It's saying I can't do it. Trust and believe I will do it. Um, and I was able to do it. A little trivial fact about This Is Their Land. It was a 50-page script, I believe, 45-page script, and 90% of the scenes were in Modoc. Yet I remember the 10% was in English. I remember I focused on the language and the background and the scenes so much that was in Modoc. I completely forgot we had English scenes until the day before. I'm like, oh my God, we have a 5-page. I have a monologue. Oh my God. And I didn't sleep that night. It was fourth or third day of shooting. And the night before I didn't sleep. I Sam Jackson did. I just like I'm in bed and repeating. I fell asleep with like the script on me, and like, all right, cool, we're ready to go, and got that one in 3 shots.
I don't think there was a lot of sleeping in general when This Is Their Land was shooting. We had them set up at lava beds, but we got them connected with hotels in Merrill. So they were commuting from Merrill to Tule Lake and back each day in a very compacted short production run, which got completely thrown out of whack when a snowstorm hit on day one. And they had to basically film like just like interior shots for the first day or two while trying to get rid of all the snow that was involved. So yeah, all the little fun things that happen on set that you can laugh about afterwards, but at the time you're like, how the hell are we going to do this now?
And it's interesting. I think I've heard a handful of you guys have or have shot shorts or finished shorts. I just wrapped up my short. It's in the film festival circuit right now. And sometimes on those days on set, you're like, how the hell are we gonna do this? I don't know. Like, all right, let's brainstorm, huddle. And you figure out, add tape to this paper clip, to that soundboard, to that, like, boom, and we got it. Like, all right, cool, let's go. And it works. So I was like, oh shit, it actually worked. And that's at least for me, that's kind of the fun of it. Is I love puzzles. I love figuring things out, and it's like, holy shit, like it actually worked.
It's really like brushing up against and finding out, like, are these limits that really exist, or how far past can I push them?
100%.
It looked like John had a question.
When you said earlier that you were on the Westworld set, I was just kind of like, how was all that? What was that like, being in part of that?
I'm sorry, John. I couldn't hear the question.
Bowen, could you boost his volume just a little bit?
I am.
No, I said earlier that you were on the Westworld set. Did you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What was that like? I was just curious because it was such a, special, visual effects thing, and I was just kind of curious what that was all like.
Wait, was it all green screen or was it a big, massive, full on set?
No. They half of it was green screen and the other half was a sound stage. That sound stage was huge. They had 3 different worlds in one stage, and I think they had 5 stages dedicated to them. It was huge. Set designers had a field day. It was beautiful, everything. I worked as a set medic, and that one I worked primarily as what do they call it? Prepping and striking. So I was there when those set designers were creating the actual set, and it was gorgeous. It was amazing. And it's funny enough, though, it took twice as long to take it all down. And it took them about like 3-4 days. They put it all up in a day. It was 14 hours, and in a day they put everything up, 3 different worlds. From out of the 5 stages, they used only the 3 stages that day. But when they had to take it down, and I think it was only 3 days of filming, it took them 3 days to strike all 3 sets. So it took them, twice as long. But it was really nice. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there when they were filming, but I will say the budget that they had for that, they really, in my view, in my personal opinion, they really did their best to make it as authentic as possible without needing to use the green screen.
HBO has a really good reputation for that, for doing real sets for some of their series. I did a little bit of work on the audio side for Boardwalk Empire, if people remember that from about like 10, 15 years ago, Steve Buscemi. HBO did not scrimp on that. They built a full-on boardwalk from scratch in Atlantic City as a set that they used for 3-4 years in filming that whole series. There was no green screen. If you've watched Boardwalk Empire, fantastic show. That was a full-on, like, full-size Atlantic City that they just built. So they really went all out. Is anyone who hasn't had a chance to ask a question yet? Sorry, Bowen, it looked like you want to do something. Karen, I know you haven't had a chance to talk yet, but
it's okay for me to be talked over. It's okay.
I'm just enjoying the conversation. So
okay. Alberto, I know you haven't had a chance to chime in. Was there anything that you wanted to ask?
Can you guys see me? I'm sorry, I don't know my
we can hear you. It's all good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, guys, I'm just a fly on the wall today, but I just want to thank our guest, and what he was saying earlier about I was paying a lot of attention to what he was saying about having etiquette, and that's something that I was growing up. Um, so I started climbing cell phone towers when I was 18 years old. One of the most dangerous jobs. My older brother, that's what he does for a profession. I no longer do that. I'm a full-time student now, but and that's something that I always did. Everywhere that I went, I was the youngest guy, but I always had the etiquette. And people would always tell me, "What's with this guy? Like he's 18 years old, calling everybody sir, calling everybody." And that's just something that was always like instilled as me as a young child. Like if you're gonna do something, just do it right. Why are you gonna do something and not do it to your full potential, and I think that was a beautiful lesson shared by a guest, and the whole safety thing too. That was something that I would always say. I was the youngest guy on the site doing the most dangerous work, but part of the reason that makes you safe is that having that fear. If you don't have that fear, and most of the guys that we work with, there were those, real tough guys, they're like, oh, I don't need to put my safety lanyard on, I could do this quick, I've been doing this for a long time. But me and being as a young guy, I'm like, I'm making sure I'm tied off all the time. Because I think that fear is what keeps you alive, it's that knowing like, hey, I'm in a dangerous job, but I can do it. I can handle it. But if I want to be in this for a while, I gotta be safe, and that's the most important thing. And it's a very beautiful thing to hear our guests say that because, there were times where I was second guessing myself. Like, am I taking my safety too serious? Because these guys are the cranes out here, and the crane needs to be out here in an hour. And if we're all tied off, obviously we're not going to be able to get this site done in an hour. It's like, are they worried about our safety from the heads up? Because they're not giving us enough time. If they expect us to be 100% tied off, they should have got the crane for 3 hours. How come we only have it for one? They knew about it when they hired the crane. So you think about that too as an employee. You're like, okay, I see what's going on here. They're trying to save some money. They want me to kind of want to save them some money. But ultimately, what's more important here? Is it my health and well-being of myself and my family? Or is it because so and so didn't want to pay a little extra for the money for the crane because maybe he scheduled it out 2 weeks later than when he should have, and he didn't get that deal that he was supposed to get. So those are all things that I used to think about growing up, and it's wonderful hearing somebody from a completely different industry that will that I have nothing to do with talk about those, because I'm like, man, these problems that I face in my life, they're not only happening to me, they're happening to everyone all over the world at all different times, you know what I'm saying? And it's just very impactful to hear him say that, because as a human being, it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel like, the things that I go through on a daily basis, they're things that I go through, but other people are going through them too, in different cities, in different states, in different ways. And hearing him talk, it's making me feel like, okay, I was doing the right thing. I am here. I am alive, and all is well. And I'm truly blessed to be here. Truly. Thank you.
Yeah, I worked with Pacific Power for 7, 8 years, and you'd have guys that slid down poles and got their crotches and everything else filled with big old slivers, and that can really mess a person up. So yeah, you absolutely did the right thing.
I'll mention to you guys about safety. So the Army commercial that I did, someone actually got hurt. Again, so just to paint the picture, we're on the beach, D-Day, United States ended up storming Normandy. In this reenactment, we had 750 background actors running towards the coast. They were starting off at the waters and pretending to get off of the boats and storming to
storm the beaches.
To storm the beaches, right? And bombs were going off, and they had squibs, actual shooting the squibs. The camera focused on 6 specific individuals that threw themselves onto the beach, and that was the wide shot and their close-ups, the medium shots, and things like that. And I was in the middle of those 6 guys, but by the 3rd shot, one of the stunt people got comfortable, and I remember him specifically hearing they're not even filming me. I'll just run in when I want. And literally when he said that, they called action and he stepped in front of one of the pyro shots, which was this little it was just a miniature explosive that they had under the sand. And it exploded right next to him, as opposed to behind him. And what ended up happening is it exploded and the debris that they had inside the explosives hit him in the eye. He ended up having a black eye, and started bleeding a little bit because he landed as opposed to the debris shooting from right behind him when the other stunt people were telling him like go sooner. He didn't listen, and instead he ended up being in the wrong place, wrong time, and he ended up getting a black eye and started bleeding, and they had to send him off to the hospital. He was okay, but when it comes to very specific things and stunts that involve explosives, squibs from guns and things like that, you can't, or any other profession, you can't. At least again, me as a medic, thinking about the safety is like you have to be very specific, you have to be very intentional, and you have to have your protocols to ensure that that you stay safe and also keep your colleagues safe as well.
Think of like having a really big firework go off right next to you.
Yeah.
So like if you see action films where there's an explosion and people go flying, like those stunt guys are stepping on like a little hydraulic launch that's throwing them through the air. But if they don't step right, like that giant firework will go off right next to them and they can get
Yeah.
severely burned and injured from that. So it is legit. We have another question in the chat from Lori Rufino. And Lori asked, what do you believe is the most challenging aspect of being an actor? Is there a new challenge within acting that you are wanting to try that you haven't done before?
Thinking you're not good enough. The challenge I feel every actor has, and even all the famous actors talk about it, but it's true. I feel it's true, is that you feel like you're not good enough because you've gotten 60 no's from auditions, or uh, you got pinned, but then they went with the other person, or you got the audition, then you got the callback, then just crickets. And it's a challenge, I think, for all actors, many actors, to not take that personally and have your confidence and self-esteem hurt a little bit from it. Yet, I've come to realize, at least for me, that most of the times when you're not picked for a specific role, it has nothing to do with you, like at all. Like it's very much that. It took a long time to really internalize that, but I think that was the biggest challenge, to understand that I'm a phenomenal actor and I didn't get picked because it just wasn't for me. Um, I'll give you a perfect example. I was supposed to be a recurrent guest star for the Mayans. I did an audition, I did 3 callbacks, and I met with the directors, producers, Kurt Sutter, everyone. And I did the role, the audition, and then I remember when I walked out, I'll never forget it. Wendy O'Brien, she great casting director. She whispered to me like, "You did such a great job. You're gonna get the call tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh my!" And I'm so happy and things like that. Uh, but then I didn't get the call the next day, and then I didn't get the call the following day. And I think I got the call on the third day, and it was my agent, and he tells me like, "Hey, Rufino." I'm like, "Oh, your voice is already sad. What, like, what's going on? Hey, like, what are you? What's going on with the minds?" He's like, so they had to release you. I'm like, "What happened?" Like, everyone was happy. Like, what happened? He's like,
Right.
"Well, Kurt Sutter thought that it'd be better to have a child soldier instead of an adult soldier."
Can you be 8 years old, Rufino?
Yeah, could I be 8 years old? But like it was. I remember that hurt, but it was such a glitch in my brain because I did everything right and I got the room. I did everything I was supposed to do, and the writer just decided he wanted to change the character out of a whim, and he has every right to. And when you look at the show, it makes a lot more sense for the story that the specific character was a child soldier. And then after that, and then a couple other things, I remember I've been pinned for so many TV shows and movies, but I realize it's that the challenge is that going through the auditions and not getting booked for these auditions and realizing if you're doing the work, if you're auditioning, if you're really giving the best that you can in just your craft, and if you really do love it, that has nothing to do with you. That is, it's not to question your talent, or it's not to question your desire for it. It's like it's not that the harder you want it, the better you'll get it. Sometimes it's just that's understanding the business side, the creativity and the business side of acting, at least in LA, is that the business side has 50% of decision making's influences on the decision making. And that has to do, I believe, more with um, managing your internal emotions and perspective on what it is that you want with acting. Um, that's for the challenge. Now, I want to say a specific challenge for acting that I want to take on, or I want to try. I do Western horseback, uh, and I've done archery, and so I think I've always would have loved to do either a Western or do a Native American piece where I'd be able to uh do Western horseback with shooting or with archery and deliver an emotional dialogue that inspires the world. But I think that I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I love, hence why I'm an MMA and EMT and acting as well. I think that's a challenge I've wanted. I think I would love to do. I've been lucky enough where I've done um man, I've done so many different roles. I've played the criminal, I've played a politician, I've played a lawyer, I've played a murderer, I've played a playboy, a husband, like a cop, a soldier, paramedic, but I'm a real medic in life, so I don't I don't know. So it's kind of interesting, but I think that's one that I would really love to do. I love, again, history, and I would really love to specifically partake in just a little bit more action when it comes to Westerns. Actually, I apologize. That, and also a little bit personal to myself is, like I said, my ancestors are Nawa, and they speak Nahuatl. The closest thing we had to a film that included the Nahuatl language was in Apocalypto, and that was a mix of Nahuatl with Mayan. Um, and I feel that that's been missing for a while now. The Nahuatl people, there's a lot of people who are getting rooted back into their indigeneity, and so one thing I think would be a beautiful challenge. I'm actually writing right now. I have a treatment for it, a story with having a complete dialogue in Nahuatl and giving that story out and trying to, I don't know if anyone's seen Shogun, but one of the challenges for Shogun was that they're not speaking modern Japanese, they're speaking ancient Japanese.
Japanese, yeah.
And that's kind of the challenge with my people, is that with Nahuatl, it's modern Nahuatl, and ancient Nahuatl is completely different. For example, we say now, if we want to say no, we would say amo, AMO. Back in the day, they would say amoshtle. It's a small little difference, but other people, some regions in the Yucatan, they still say that. So you say amo to them, like, what the hell are you saying? You say amoshtle, they're like, oh no, yeah, cool, it's okay. So that's a lot of research. That's a lot of building and research, and again, I think that's why Shogun was so beautiful, is because as they were very able, they did a lot of research, and it shows and it pays off, and that's why a lot of people love that show.
Did you have a chance to watch the Comanche dub of Prey?
Oh yeah, that was beautiful.
Great.
That was gorgeous.
Great. Yeah.
I thought no other way to watch it.
We've got about 15 minutes left. We do have a hard stop at 8 because Rufino has an audition that he has to go do. But we always end these meetings giving everyone who's here a chance to give a final comment or a last quick question. And because of time interest, let's try to keep it like to a minute or less for each person. But Lori, since you just had a question in, do you have a final comment you want to throw out?
I just really appreciate you, Rufino, your time and your words, and I just appreciate it. If you have any advice for aspiring actor.
Find out if you love it. And if you do, don't worry about anything else. If you don't, go find something that you love.
Fantastic. Wayne, do you have a final comment for us? Or a quick question?
Actor Rufino's earlier comment about actors running over explosives and then they blow up. When our country fought the Vietnam War, Vietnam had explosives that, you know, you walk over the top of them or run over the top of them, and they would bounce up and explode and severely maim, not kill, but severely maim soldiers. They were called bouncing Bettys.
I've
And
heard of those.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there like that. So, you know, his point about being careful and, you know, checking weapons and things like that is very, very important.
Yeah, 100%.
Schwab, so great to see you joining us. Appreciate you being here. Do you have a quick final question or comment you want to throw out as we wrap things up?
Just want to say, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I showed up. Thanks a lot, Rufino, for showing up. Do I have a question, I guess? Does it feel like these days you have to be in LA less and less to be a working actor? Or I mean, I know there's an expansion to like Atlanta, and there's always like Vancouver.
Vancouver, yeah. New Mexico has a lot of production as well.
But is it feeling like you don't necessarily have to be in LA? I mean, you don't necessarily, but does it feel less and less, or like there's a lot more opportunities elsewhere these days, I guess?
Cost of living is definitely advantageous for some of those other places.
So I feel it's a 50-50. It is leaning towards getting a more of an expansive market. New Mexico. Right now, currently, there's actually technically a lot more productions happening in New Mexico than Los Angeles. Yet, as it stands right now, for example, I got voiceover work. That's work, but it's here in LA. When I got casted as I'm the voice actor for a video game character. The video game is called For Honor, and the character's name is Ocelot. The studio is here in LA. One of the things that I remember my agent was able to pitch, and again, this is the business side. Oh, he's here in LA. You don't have to fly him. Oh, so we get to save $1,000, $2,000, stuff like. Cool, yeah. It helps in your favor. It's not to say that it's necessary, but it helps in your favor. But it does seem now, as opposed to 5 years ago, it used to be 80% you have to be in LA. Now it's probably about 60-50%. Yet a lot of the casting offices are here, and so it would work in your favor. But I would say that give it maybe about 3 to 5 years. Yeah, I don't think you have to be in LA at all.
Okay. Jared, you want to chime in with anything?
Hey man, I just want to thank you for being here. Appreciate all your time. One quick question. As someone with both perspectives of actor and director, and I'm going into directing my film on Sunday, any advice?
Do you know, I'm gonna answer that question with a question. Do you know what's your personality, damn it. Do you know what's your personality in the Myers-Briggs? No? Okay. Yeah, okay, because that would end up helping. Well, it's because we all have different perspectives in being able to take up knowledge when it comes to the outside environment and processing that either through our feelings or through our logic. Some people, like me, I'm able to go through my feelings and intuition a lot better. I just get things without needing to process it logically. Other people, they are able to get clarity and logic, and they're able to solve a puzzle way better than someone who uses intuition. And so, you have MMA background, and you've been in this industry and everything. The one thing I will always say, like being on set, take a deep breath. When things go bad, take a deep breath. When things are going good, take a deep breath. sometimes being on set or acting or fighting or anything, we forget to breathe. And I know I've noticed that with some actors that I've been on set with or anyone is like, if we get the oxygen to our brains, sometimes we'll just get the answer. So if you feel weird or anything, just take 3 deep breaths and creator will give you an answer.
Alberto wanted to chime in with a quick question as well.
Yeah, I just had a quick question for our guest. Like, what would it mean for you to be able to make a film, like an entire film? I know you brought up Apocalypto, and that was a good movie. I really enjoyed watching that. The Mel Gibson it was really good movie. What would it mean to be able to make a movie completely using the Nawa language? How impactful would that be for you and your people? And how important is having visual sovereignty and self-representation to you, especially, you are a very established, well-known actor. How impactful would that be for you and for you and your community? And also, is there any aspects of like any maybe historical events maybe that you would like um, to take on in a future film?
It would mean everything. I got into acting because I found out that acting for me was very cathartic and it bettered my life. In some cases, some instances actually saved my life on a personal level. For being able to contribute to the narrative, to the history of my people, and being able to have us reconnect. And I think that's just for everyone and anyone in the whole world. I had a mentor a long time ago told me, in order to know where you're going, you need to know where you came from. And that speaks to an individual's past, but I think that also speaks to society's past to understand where we can move forward. And so for me, for my people, that's been missing, and it has so many layers to it. Um, I was able to help a little bit, whatever small contribution I was able to help out with the Modoc people and their narrative um and tell the story of Captain Jack. I had many Modoc tell me that they it meant a lot to them, and so it's interesting because when I heard them say that, I felt a sadness, yet I felt a pride as well that I could only imagine what would happen if my people saw a film that represented our wisdom, our intelligence, our science, our spirituality, our intellect, our kindness, our heart, our unity, um, and how it would be able to help contribute in the discussion of how we could become better people. And maybe other people who would see it from anywhere in the world would be like, hey, maybe we should head in this direction. Maybe I should look at my past. And so it would be everything for me. That's actually when I talked earlier specifically about actors, what actors have a challenge of not knowing what they want to get into specifically in roles and things like that. That's my specific goal. My specific goal is to be able to create stories and get into a role that resonates with people who have had their voice stripped at one point in history. More specifically, more of anything else, my community and my ancestors. So
I'd love to have a lengthy conversation about the way that Hollywood has misappropriated Native American culture, but man, we have 7 minutes left. So, in the interest of time, John, anything that you want to add?
Just thank you so much for just all your insights and everything for the beach with us today.
appreciate
Terrific.
it.
Karen?
Ravina, thank you so much. Just a couple of things. I just want you to know that the conversations that we had today makes my studies relevant in my PhD program, studying silent film. And then it also helps build those bridges and those connections, see where we were and where we are now, and helping to identify some of these stuff that is not change at all. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Karen. Thank you.
Larry, is there anything that you want to add?
Well,
Just thank you, Rufino, and it's a pleasure listening to you and all your exciting stories. And one quick question. Now that the actors strike is over, do you feel like things are picking up again?
So I'm not gonna lie, it's been very slow for the last 4 months, in all honesty. And and as I said before, I'm in the industry on many actually avenues in voiceover and dubbing and ADR looping groups, as a set medic, and all that has been very, very dry. I've had a handful of medic friends, excuse me, I've had a handful of medic friends who've gone to New Mexico, um, and gotten work there. So it's been challenging. And what I keep understanding from people in the industry, be it IETSE or be it actors, is that I believe the Teamsters negotiation talks are still coming up, are this month, which that would mean that most likely AMPTP, this is a personal opinion, I'm not too sure, but it's my guess, that AMPTP is slowing down productions for anything because they need to see what's going to happen with that negotiation with the Teamsters. Because if they end up having productions, and then if whatever reason Teamsters decide to strike, then that means that they have to shut down like 5 productions that they just started. So instead of doing that and wasting a lot of money, they're just waiting and seeing how the negotiations happen, and then go from there.
Interesting. And Bowen, I know you've been looking antsy, like you had about 1,000 questions that you wanted to chime in with, but
Rufino, it's always very tactical for me to go last. It's for a reason, but I'll also keep it short. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you and listening to you over this meeting. Thank you so much for joining. It's been it's been informative is too reductive of a word to describe it. How it's just been to listen to you and your perspective as well. But truly, it's nice to hear all of your perspectives and some of the things that I've had from my own perspective, still budding in the industry, I suppose, of seeing like what things like I know I'm doing well so far, what things I know I could still improve on. And I think that kind of speaks to, I guess, something, I don't know if it was explicitly said at all during the meeting, but that idea of always finding ways to challenge yourself and grow, and to use storytelling as a medium to not only build your own growth, but inspire the growth of others. That's something that I think it can be a through line between the two of us. And that's exactly why I got into this as well. So it's really nice hearing somebody else with that perspective. One other question I had, which is pretty neutral, nothing too big to end us off with. Is there, this is kind of a question I've asked myself in like what future roles I would want. And I appreciate you talking about specificity. Is there a character archetype or just role or whatever in a narrative story, you can interpret that how you will, that you personally identify with the most or want to start inheriting or portraying more often?
Anti-hero.
Sorry?
Anti-hero.
Anti-hero.
You want to be an anti-hero. Very nice.
Does anyone know, oh my God, I'm forgetting, the Iceman, the gentleman who throws himself in an ice tub and in ice, almost only with shorts. He climbed Mount Everest in shorts.
Yep. Yeah.
So Wim Hoffman, there you go. So Wim Hoffman ended up saying something along the lines, "Do you think you're a hero?" And he said, like, "No, I'm an anti-hero." And they asked him why. And for me, it resonated, because I believe in stories. Anti-heroes end up becoming the most relatable characters in films, because we realize that superheroes, they're perfect. They're a certain type of cookie cutter perfect. But anti-heroes, they're trying to be heroes, but they're human. They drink too much. They have infidelity. They have PTSD. They're
Flaws.
humans. There was a quote I heard a long time ago that that's like, I always said I wanted to help people. I never said I wanted to be better than them. And I think that's the anti-hero. I love the complexities and the intricacies of how does a person navigate their moral compass and making the right decision when technically they might not have the cool tools in their characteristics to make it happen. And that's the journey, that's the arc, you know.
Yep, absolutely.
It's fascinating. The anti-hero has always been my favorite. I don't know if anyone's seen Revolver, a Guy Ritchie film with Jason Statham. That's my favorite film, and he's just he's a bad gangster, but when it comes to his niece, when he realizes that money and power doesn't mean a damn thing, that at the end everyone's gonna die, maybe he contributes a little bit in helping out humanity. Oh, well, he wants to be kind and nice and helpful, but he has this character of a gangster. So how does a gangster like be nice? So it's a very interesting dynamic. Oh, and one thing also I want to say before anything else, Lori, one thing that came into mind, and just for everyone, I think that I've made a decision and understanding of what it is, something that would help out an inspiring actor and just the evolution of things, and the market and things like that. Personally, as much as I hate to say it, I think the era of being an actor only is over. No more are people only being hired as actors only. Actors, Dave Patel, he ended up making Monkey Man. He was a writer, he was a director, but he was the lead actor. He wasn't just the lead actor. Loki, gentleman who played Loki, he was also the executive producer. A lot of Bill Hader for Barry. He was a writer. He was the lead actor. He was the executive producer. A lot of these people, actors, I believe we have to understand now that we have to be filmmakers. We have to write. We have to direct. We have to write roles or scripts or stories for us to act in. We have to direct. We have to maybe be producers to be able to become actors. I believe you become, now this is the business side, more competitive and more of a commodity and more of an actor that people want to work with if they know that you've produced, if you've written, if you've done 3, 4 short movies that you created or a feature film or you wrote or anything else like that. If you DP as well, I think having an addition of a faculty of writing or directing or DPing or anything else like that will make you as an actor transition into becoming a filmmaker, which will make you more likely to be a working film person in the industry.
That seems like a wonderful place to end our evening. And Rufino, you need to go audition for a role. So we will say thank you so much for taking some time out to talk to us and sharing all of your wonderful knowledge and advice. We so deeply appreciate it. Rufino did leave his Instagram in the chat. I also posted his demo reel, which you can also just find on YouTube. Just search for his name. You can see some of the things he's been in. And we'll look forward to seeing future projects from you as hopefully you land the role tonight and other things in the future. Of course, also a reminder, the Klamath Independent Film Festival deadline is June 1st. So if you've got projects or you know people who've worked on projects made in Oregon, please, nudge them. We got 2 weeks left. So quick final thoughts or final things you would like to say before we call it a night, Rufino.
If anyone wants to see me in anything who plays video games, just play For Honor. That's my voice yelling in the Ocelot character and being a warrior and stuff like that. But thank you for your time. Thank you for even creating this space. I think conversations like this have to happen a lot more just for people to get a little clarity into the industry and also understand that we're all colleagues, not competitors. That we're all trying to help each other and just trying to figure out keep doing what we love doing. And so thank every single one of you for your time, for sharing your space, for sharing your energy, for sharing your questions. If you have any questions whatsoever, please contact me on Instagram. If you can't write my specific tag, you could just write Rufino Romero. And if you want to put me in any projects, we can have a discussion. Or if you need help with writing, I also write as well, like I said. So again, thank you for having me, and hope to see you guys.
Rufino, keep being awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see all of you next month for our next Klamath Film meeting.
Break a leg.
Good night, everybody.
Appreciate you guys. See you later.
Yeah.